Hello, I'm Liz Lumley of FinExtra, and today I'm speaking to Jayme Fagas of Thomson Reuters. And we're going to start off our conversation looking at the impact of IFRS and AIFMD. So what do market practitioners need to do to comply with some of these new global reporting standards?
I think that solutions chosen must align quite well to any regulatory and disclosure reporting requirements. That's really, really important. Additionally, I'd say, and this is fairly obvious, that data must be valid, but data also must be consistent. And that way, wherever it's used, it's consistent. That's important. Last but not least, transparency. Transparency is key. Access to transparent data, transparency around data, transparency around derived analytics and such has just become incredibly, incredibly important.
So what are the benefits of having access to clear pricing methodologies then?
Well, clear pricing methodologies are at the core of everything we do in the pricing industry. So clients need access to those methodologies. This is how they know how a price is derived. And this is how they know that everything that's going into a report, for example, is accurate and that they have access to it. A clear pricing methodology would include things like market inputs, calculation formulas, market data, etc. Access to all of that is very, very important because it gives full insight into the price methodology. And again, it's the only way a client can really understand how a price was actually derived.
What are some of the challenges practitioners face when trying to be compliant while also managing to understand hard-to-price assets?
Hard-to-price assets are interesting. I mean, there's more than one hard-to-price asset. Some stem from the fact that they're incredibly complex in nature, complex in structure. So understanding a structure and really understanding what's behind that structure is important. It's not always easy. It's often quite mathematical. It takes a quant-type background to really understand how an instrument is composed. So that in itself is a challenge. Finding the right people who can assess the value of an instrument that's highly complex. Another type of hard-to-value instrument might be hard to value because of a lack of liquidity in a particular asset sector. That's tough, and the challenge is accessing appropriate market color, readily available market color that applies to these types of instruments. Number one, we have to source it, we have to find it, and then number two, we have to apply that market color to the instruments that are in fact hard to value because of a lack of liquidity.
So how important are due diligence audits then? What are some of the market best practices?
Well, due diligence meetings, audits, they have become incredibly, incredibly important. And in fact, they are a window into price methodology, which we spoke about earlier. They're a window into, very often, some of these harder to value assets. Some of the more vanilla type instruments that we value don't often require discussion at these due diligence meetings because they're vanilla, they're more common in nature. However, with things like very hard to price assets, clients will often want to do a deep dive into individual instruments, especially the hard to value ones, and we'll bring in an evaluator right into the meeting and we'll go through a price methodology, right down to the actual market inputs used, the calculation formulas, any other assumptive data, performance data, so on and so forth. So the due diligence meeting is really a place to get that done. It is a place for a client to assess the quality and, frankly, the controls that a pricing vendor has in place. Best practices, I think we've seen some proactive questionnaire type things lately, and those questionnaires will address items such as price methodology changes. Clients always want to be kept abreast of any kind of methodology changes because they do need to track that. We'll go into the control environment, process, procedure, and such. We'll also often, the questionnaire might also address the evaluation staff, how many, where are they located, what is their background, their experience. So these questionnaires can really cover off quite a number of things, and they can also prepare both the client and ourselves for the due diligence meeting. Another good example, and I'm glad to say we have one in place, is an SSAE 16 SOC 1 Type 2 report. This is a statement of controls that a pricing vendor is able to use very, very proactively to communicate the controls, procedures, processes, and such in place today.